Hey guys, how you doing? I'm Aaron with Aleeknives, and today you'll see behind me in my shop, I've got my vertical grinder, my horizontal grinder, and I have a disc sander right behind me. This is going to be the focus of the video. I'm going to talk all about these grinders, why I have them, the cool things that they do. I'm going to show you attachments and different things that I use with these grinders. You're going to pick up some stuff that you probably haven't seen in previous videos. It should be very insightful, and I've got some really exciting news to talk about later on in the video, so let's jump right in. Alright guys, so the first grinder that I ever bought was my Beaumont KMG. This is the Beaumont Metalworks KMG Classic. This is a vertical grinder. This is an excellent grinder. It's very rock solid. It's built really well. It's a tank. It was really expensive, and when I first got into knife making years ago, there just weren't that many options in grinders. And if you wanted to build your own, you really had to build your own from scratch. There weren't a lot of guys doing it at the time, at least not well documented, and I wasn't ready to do that. I wanted to jump into knife making, not spend a tremendous amount of time making a grinder. So I did just save up the money, and I bought this unit right here, and this is an excellent vertical grinder, but immediately I realized that I wanted a small wheel attachment. So what I did was I bought this small wheel attachment here that they offer right here, and it's a good small wheel, but you'll notice that it's vertical. The problem with the vertical small wheel attachment is when you're working your blades to do your profiles, it's vertical, so you're leaning over the whole time to see what you're doing, and I found that to be very cumbersome and not really enjoyable to use. If I spent a lot of time trying to work my piece on a vertical plane, then I was getting crooks in my neck and different things like that. Eventually I got fed up with this, and that's what led me to buy my dedicated horizontal grinder. We'll get to that here in a minute. Let's move back into here. Now, I also do have the 12-inch wheel, and the 12-inch wheel lends itself really well for lots of different things. I normally use that for shallow hollow grinds and things like that, or to blend materials together. I use it a lot for handle material shaping and things like that. The flat platen on this works extremely well. I like it, and it's got a nice tool rest here. I'm going to bring you in and show you what I like and don't like about the tool rest about the KMG also. Okay, so here we go. KMG, it has a spring right here, and you push the spring down, you pull the tool rest out, and then you clamp the rest down. And that gives you your tension on your belt here. It's a simple tracking system on the KMG where you just turn a knob to adjust a single point pivot. I'll tell you, to adjust the pivot downwards, it's really easy to bring the belt off this way. It's extremely difficult to adjust the pivot to bring the belt off the other side of the platen. In fact, a lot of times I actually have to loosen up the arm by pressing down on the spring to adjust the tracking to get the belt to move left. And that's just the geometry of how this tracking mechanism works. When you turn it one way, the wheel wants to fall, which moves the belt this way. But if you turn it the other way, you're actually forcing the wheel up. So it's just more difficult to turn the knob in one direction than the other. That's not a fault of the machine, it's just the design itself. Now, I brought you over here to show you this work rest. Now, this work rest works perfectly fine for profiling blades, but it really needs to be larger. If you were a guy who wanted to use, say, a jig for grinding bevels, this just isn't big enough. So a lot of guys instantaneously replace this. I have made it work throughout the years because I grind my profiles on it, and then I move over to my horizontal. So, this has worked great. I bought several tooling arms, one for the large wheel, and I bought one for the small wheel attachment. And I also bought the adjustable work rest for this, which helps you hold your 90 degrees for grinding your profiles. This is a good unit, but like I said, it's completely vertical. I did go with the K-back variable frequency drive, which is in a NEMA enclosure, and I have the 3-phase motor. Love this, totally dig it. Would never use a grinder without it personally, but you could. You see, this KMG comes with a 3-step pulley, so you could move that belt back and forth and adjust your speeds, but I just think that'd be a total pain in the rear end, especially for knife makers, because we like to work pretty quickly. So let me show you my setup here. I like my grinder here, and then I created a bucket. And what I've done here is I've run this duct this far down into the bucket. And then I have a shop vac attached right here in the top. What it does is it sucks your heavy material straight down to the bottom of the bucket. It creates this flow of air through here, so your heavy material gets collected in the bucket, but all your loose particles that would normally float around in the air get sucked into the shop vac. Now, a lot of times while I'm grinding metal, there's lots of sparks. And this could be a potential danger if you're grinding metal and wood on the same machine, because you get a lot of sawdust in here and then sparks. So what I do is I have my bucket of water right here, and a lot of times, you know, I just take my hand in here and just toss it in there like that, and it arrests any sparks that might happen. Just like that. It's that easy. You just throw some water in there before you start grinding, and it's perfectly good. And the wet area kind of collects any other particles of dust or anything like that. It works great. I absolutely love this. You know, once a year I just throw that bucket away. I just take the lid off, I plop a new bucket. I'm getting ready to do it. I got a new bucket right here. I just replace the bucket about once a year. It's not a big deal. You know, I do dump it out every now and then, but because I do throw water in there, it starts to collect a really heavy, you know, base in there. It basically turns into a solid metal block after about a year. So anyhow, that's my dust collection system. I have a dedicated shop vac for it that's a very quiet running shop vac. And then this is just a vent pipe here, and I've put a piece of rubber around the top so it can't cut me or anything like that. And I like it because it's nice and wide, so I can slide it right under here. If I'm doing really long blades, what's cool about it is the blade can go right down into the hole, or if I don't want it there, I just move it out of the way, and then I have total freedom without that there. This works really, really, really well for grinding handle materials and stuff like that, and keeping dust out of the shop. Of course, you're gonna have ambient dust build up because your belt carries things away with it, and it throws them against the back wall and kind of splatters stuff against the back wall. It's just gonna happen. That's just nature of the beast here. Right now, the largest supporter in my shop is Empire Abrasives. Those guys over there are super cool guys. You gotta go over there and try them out. I buy all my abrasives from them, and I'm gonna bring you in and show you my favorite belts right now. Some of these crazy 36 grit belts and some ceramic belts, and a belt that not a lot of people know about that I absolutely love. So check this out. And if you go over there and buy something from them, at the end when you're checking out in the promotion area, enter Aleeknives and you're going to get a discount too. So you're welcome. I said I wanted a new one. There we go. All right, here we go. These guys right here. A lot of people don't know about this. They think that there's ceramic belts and then there's aluminum oxide and there's no in between. But there is. This is a zirconium belt. Zirconia. Absolutely love this. It's an incredibly sharp belt. It blows aluminum oxide out of the water, and I actually prefer these over ceramic belts. A lot of people boast the ceramic belts last forever, but here's the deal. I don't like a belt that's not razor sharp. These belts are razor sharp. I mean, you don't want to get anywhere near this with bare skin. These things absolutely shred material, and the reason that I love them the most is because they're so sharp that they get into my hardwoods like ironwoods and things like that, and they hog off material without burning the wood. Which brings me to my next point. This is another thing that I think a lot of makers miss when they get started. When you're using machines like this, you really shouldn't use the same belts that you grind your knives with to grind your handle material with. When you're grinding a knife with this, you're embedding metal particles all into the grit. And then if you go and you grind wood with it, you're going to embed those metal particles into your wood. And what happens is that metal will eventually oxidate and cause your wood to discolor. And you definitely don't want to do that. So I strongly advocate that you use different belts for your wood and your metal. And I don't hear many makers talking about that. You know, when you get into this, the cost to get into it is fairly high, but just buy yourself a couple different sets of belts. That's why I have so many pegs up here. I have dedicated belts for metalworking and dedicated belts for woodworking. And I try to keep them separate. That helps out quite a bit. Now, if you want to get by on the cheap, you can use your metalworking belts to hog off the outer material on your wood, as long as it's not anywhere near the inner material of your finished product. And then you can move over to using a fresh belt to take that final dimension down so that you can be sure that you haven't left any metal particles in your handle material. That's actually very important. One of the other things that I wanted to share with you guys that I don't see makers talk about very often is this right here. This is an abrasive eraser. This is an incredible tool. Basically, when your belt gets loaded up with material, which it happens pretty rapidly, you take this bad boy, like this, you run your machine. Actually, let's show ya. All right, I'm gonna show you how well it works. This is the belt eraser right here. I'm gonna focus on the belt and I'm gonna turn it on. There we go, it's stuck, watch. Watch how this cleans the belt. This belt's not real dirty, but it'll work. Check that out. All it's got is a little fuzz. That fuzz wipes right off. That's the actual eraser. But look at that. That belt looks nice and brand new. It pulled all that material right out of the belt. Now I can get twice as much life out of the same belt. That's a belt eraser. Really neat stuff right there. Try it. You'll love it. Thank me later. And now we moved on to my horizontal setup. When I finally got fed up with leaning over and working sideways and trying to see how everything was working, I bought this. Because now, when I go to profile, I have a small wheel over here, I have a medium wheel over here. I almost never, ever use the flat platen on this. I just use the wheel attachments. But these are really cool work rests that move up and down. You'll find that on a dedicated horizontal unit, you have a work rest. And if you're using it to profile, you only use the thickness of your stock material on the belt. So you'll work in, you'll cut little bands in this belt as you work your profile. So what's cool is you can very easily loosen this right here, and you can move this up and down to get a new area on the belt. So I can profile quite a few knives on one set of belts. I start at the bottom of the belt and I work it, and I slowly move the table up as I go through more knives until I've used up the whole belt. Same deal over here on the small wheel attachment. It's exactly the same. This moves up and down. And like I said, I never use this. I find that this just introduces problems in my build. So as long as I keep this table and this table accurate to each other, then we're good to go. If this table and this table are not accurate and level to each other, you'll clean up the spine of your knife on this side, and you'll clean up the inside, like finger choil area of your knife on this side, and where the two areas meet at the back of the knife, it will not be a 90 degree, the joining surface will not be 90 degrees if this and this aren't perfectly tuned to each other. So definitely use your 1, 2, 3 blocks. I like to use these 1, 2, 3 blocks, set them on your work rest, make sure they're exactly 90 degrees to your work surface, or make sure that your work surface is exactly 90 degrees to the wheel. And that's going to go a long ways to making your end product nice and crispy. So I bought this second, and then I invested in my disc sander. This is the third sander that I bought, and I absolutely fell in love with this disc sander. I have the 1 degree beveled disc from Beaumont Metalworks, and I put this together myself. I just built a stand, put a Tico FM50 VFD on it, and this is a 2 horsepower 3-phase motor that I picked up off of eBay. Excellent, excellent machine. I absolutely love this thing. I actually have a dedicated video on the disc sander, so if you want to know more about this, jump over there and check out the ins and outs about the disc sander. But this video is mainly about talking about these 2x72 machines. Now, like I said, I bought this one first, out of pocket. I made knives till I could pay for it, and then I made more knives to pay for this one. So all in all, I have quite a bit of money wrapped up in grinders, and I'll tell you, things have changed quite a bit in this industry. Things have changed so much that I'm really excited to show you guys something that I'm getting ready to put together. So much has changed in this knife making industry since I started 8 years ago. I am so excited about this project right here. What I have here in these boxes is the new Revolution do-it-yourself grinder kit from House-Made US. So excited, guys. Basically, this is a 100% do-it-yourself kit where everything is water jetted out on a table, so all your pieces come to you ready to go. You follow the instructions, you weld it up, and you have a vertical and horizontal machine that takes up half of the room as these two grinders back here. I'm really excited to bring this to you. I'm going to do a multi-part build series on this, because if I had to do it over and I was getting into knife making and this was available, this is absolutely what I would have done. I would have bought this and put it together, and I would have been light years ahead of where I am right now with all those expensive grinders that I have behind me. In fact, I plan on replacing both of those with this one single machine, and I'm gonna put it together myself. And you know, the cool thing about a tool that you make is you really become close to it. You know, you learn it, you put it together, you make it, you know, you're part of that machine, the machine's part of you. And then you have this continuity between you and the machine that you're creating all your art with. So I'm super stoked, guys. I'm gonna bring you in, like I said, I'm gonna do a multi-part video on this. I'm gonna do like a time-lapse build of the entire thing for people who just want to see kind of a cool YouTube video of a quick, you know, 2x72 build. And then I'm gonna break it down to show the guys who buy this kit how easy it is and the steps involved to create this grinder from ground up. So I am working with Brian over at Houseworks. He is such a cool guy. If you're even at all interested in this, please reach out to him. He's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. He's all over the place. He's absolutely integral in the knife making community. Super cool guy. I guarantee if you reach out to him, you're going to enjoy the conversation and you won't be sorry. These are amazing grinder kits. It's an amazing product and you'll be seeing it really soon. So I'm getting ready to start the series. So it'll be a couple months out, but I'm going to launch the series all at once so that the guys who are ready to do it, they'll have a series that they can look at and just build the grinder right away. So look forward to that, guys. It's coming really quick in this shop right here. Alright guys, as always, the links for the cool stuff that I mentioned in the video will be in the video description below. You'll see the link for Empire Abrasives and housemade.us, among all my other affiliate links for all the tools that I use in my shop. Anytime you guys use any of those links, it definitely helps me and my shop, and it helps buy me a cup of coffee or dog food or something like that. So please, if you're gonna go buy it anyway, use one of my links below, and definitely go check out the two new ones, the Empire Abrasives and Brian House over at housemade.us. You will thank me later. And if you're interested in some other videos, I'll link some knife builds right here so you can go and watch some more of my stuff. So thanks guys, appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.